A young boy is physically abused by a priest. The priest only stops when the school bell rings, but the boy defiantly provokes him. "What a shame, Father. I was just starting to get into it." Such a rebellious kid is the school's star basketball player, even scouted for a bright future. But then, a chance encounter gets him involved with drugs. From then on, he falls into a bottomless abyss. The warmth he feels when the drug takes effect makes him feel like he's drifting into a paradise, as if immersed in a sea of flowers, unable to break free. But after the brief moments of physical pleasure, only pain, despair, and torment remain. This is a Leonardo DiCaprio film from 30 years ago, adapted from a true story. It tells of how a person gradually loses their will in a downward spiral, then finds themselves again through a path of redemption. Jim, the rebellious boy, has 3 like-minded friends. The 4 of them often skip school, finding pleasure in teasing others, squandering their youth on the streets. 3 of the 4 are members of New York's best high school basketball team. At this time, Jim's eyes are clear, his spirit full of energy. Perhaps he truly has the potential to thrive in basketball. The coach also shows him special favor, even inviting him to his home multiple times. Though the invitation seems vague, Jim knows his true intentions, yet he never directly refuses. On the court, Jim's performance electrifies the crowd. He compares himself to a cheetah, mastering the game. Every shot is perfectly accurate. The short kid, Pedro, who plays with the other 3, takes advantage of everyone being distracted by the game and quietly sneaks into the locker room. With practiced skill, he cleans out the opponent's belongings. After the game, the group stops at a nearby fast food joint, but the owners of the stolen items quickly find them. They've been in this situation countless times. Returning the items is out of the question. Arguing and fighting is the usual outcome. That night, as they were about to split the money, a seemingly troubled woman offers her body for just $15, but is mocked and humiliated by the group. Unsuccessful, she quietly leaves. Jim has a habit of writing in his basketball diary. Besides entries about basketball and life, it also contains his poetry and reflections. That day, Jim's benefactor appears. He meets a black young man on the court who wants to challenge him. This guy is no pushover. A long-range shot goes straight through the hoop. This ignites Jim's competitive spirit. The black young man, with his superior physique, scores a few more points. Jim doesn't back down, scoring in return. Just then, Jim's friends arrive. Jim is so engrossed in the intense match with the black man that he doesn't notice them. Mickey takes the chance to secretly read Jim's diary. It records the feeling of the group getting high together. A pleasant bell rings in my ears. A dim light drifts before my eyes. "Give it back, Mickey." I imagine myself rowing on a black river, but the boat keeps drifting backward. The clouds in the sky seem to have feelings. "Give it back." What the hell is this? Although Mickey is a bit odd, he still respects Jim. The group has another close friend, Bobby. He's in the hospital with leukemia. That night, they plan to take the long bedridden Bobby out for one last wild time. Jim and Bobby have known each other since they were 3. They went to the same school, played on the same team. Bobby was even Jim's personal commentator. Everything Jim wrote, he would share with him. The kids play, shooting BB guns at the sun. The light falls like a brilliant waterfall. I just want to stay pure like that forever. That purity is the deep, innocent desire hidden in Jim's heart. But a rebellious, freewheeling teenager like Jim always does things that go against that purity. That day, Jim's life takes a fateful turn. His friend Enron takes him to a high-end apartment and introduces him to a beautiful girl. From then on, Jim gets hooked on drugs. His writing habit continues, but the world around him has completely changed. His best friend Bobby suddenly dies without warning. This is the first time Jim has faced death so closely. Though the same age, Bobby had become gaunt and haggard, as if he'd aged prematurely. Among the 4 friends, only Jim cannot accept his best friend's passing. The other 3 are still laughing and joking, talking about fun memories of Bobby as if death meant nothing to them. Jim blames them for never visiting Bobby, but to them, death is just inevitable. Mickey brings a basketball, believing the past should be let go and living in the present is the only truth. You're growing up now. The rain seems to still linger on the trees. One day, it will rule this world. The rain is great. It washes away the gloom that has weighed down for so long, and it cleans all the dirt from the streets. So we can dance. Indeed, the rain washes away the gloom in Jim's heart, and from then on, Jim sinks deeper into the satisfaction of self-destruction. His condition worsens. What mother would want to see her son fall? Yet, he refuses to listen to her earnest pleas. "Stop nagging me." "What the hell do you know?" "What did you say?" "Go clean the toilet, mind your own business. When you're done, you can deal with me too. Don't talk like that. What's wrong with you? At first, Jim told himself it was just a small, controllable pleasure. But that so-called small pleasure was slowly corroding and destroying his life. Every time the craving hits, his body reacts violently. His physiological functions are in disarray, making it impossible for him to stop. There's always a voice in his head. Just one more time, then I'll quit. One day, while making a deal on school grounds, Jim is caught by the priest. He already disliked Jim, and now he has a reason to punish him. That afternoon on the court, the hybrid turns. Jim asks the coach for permission to go to the bathroom. He plans to take another dose. His frequent requests for breaks make the coach misunderstand, thinking Jim is sending him a hidden message. The coach, who has long desired him, follows him into the bathroom, knowing exactly what Jim needs at that moment. But just as he's about to make a move, Jim stops him. Calm down. Jim, you can't blame me. I was wrong. Okay, let's just pretend this never happened, and we'll go back to how things were. Okay. Take this, it's money. Jim chooses to maintain his boundaries. He has tried countless times to quit that small pleasure, but by now, both his mind and body can no longer break free from that magical feeling. In his dream world, he can do anything he wants, pushing aside all obstacles. The dark side of his personality is magnified to the extreme. Before the game that day, Pedro secretly brings some pills. Jim and Mickey plan to use them for a boost before playing. But this time, Ron surprisingly refuses to join them. You need to hide that trash before Coach SP comes in. What's with the attitude? I lost, you hypocrite. Ron remains silent, waiting for the other two to leave before gently advising Jim. I hope you don't destroy your future and continue down this path. But Jim sees this sincere advice as a lecture. Listen, Jim, I'm really proud of you. Jim knows Ron's advice is right, and his fateful turning point arrives today. The strange pill has an extremely strong effect, leaving Jim and Mickey completely unable to play. Just then, the priest brings the police to the court. Pedro sees trouble and slips away. Jim prepares to take a free throw, but his deteriorated state causes him to miss. Immediately after, Jim collapses in the middle of the court. The priest has their lockers searched. Luckily, Pedro had already taken the evidence with him, so the two escape charges. But the priest still shows no mercy. He demands that Jim and Mickey be monitored at school for a week. The coach makes things worse, demanding they leave the team. You can't fire me, sweet. Why? Because I quit. And Ron feels regret over Jim's decision. But Jim not only quits the team, but also submits his withdrawal from school. Mickey follows Jim's choice. The priest agrees to their request without hesitation. From that day on, Jim's life goes completely off the rails. His mother tries to reason with him, not wanting to see her son get lost, but Jim can't be bothered to listen. He decides to leave home. I don't understand why you can't just sit and watch me destroy myself. You'll never see me again. Remember that. Don't say that, Jim. Don't say that. Jim gives up all his past achievements. He not only throws away the basketball career that once made him proud, but also his own life. Jim thinks that with money he can hold his head high. Led by Mickey, the three of them steal a car. All they have to do is deliver it on time for a $1,500 payout. But the three high-as-a-kite kids mess it up. When Mickey's brother comes to get the car, he finds it has been towed by the police. The drugs make them bold, but also rot their minds. In the end, it all ends with a severe beating for Mickey. The three of them continue to indulge in pleasure at a drug den. That rundown place is their paradise. Jim calls it their headquarters. In his eyes, the addicts there are an all-star lineup. His mother still prays to God to give Jim some love, but God seems to ignore her, letting him spiral. The woman from before comes to get her share, but in this selfish world, no one is willing to share with her. Jimmy, you look okay, but who's going to pick up your corpse? That night, the three of them target a Jewish bakery. But the place has nothing of value besides some candy like fruit-flavored ring pops, tropical flavors, and cream. And that gun would make him pay dearly. They struggle to open the cash register only to find a few spare coins inside. As they prepare to leave, Pedro is high on drugs. He completely ignores his friend's signals to retreat. Mickey points a gun at Pedro, but it has no effect. Jim rushes in to stop Mickey and punches Pedro to the ground. The sound of police sirens makes Mickey finally retreat. As the two run out, Pedro sobers up and calls for Jim, hoping he'll come back to help. But the police are right at the door. They have no choice but to abandon Pedro and flee. So Pedro gets arrested. The remaining two, pale-faced, go to a bar. There, Jim suddenly sees a familiar face on TV. On the Today Show, Neuron is being interviewed. It's about the National High School Basketball Tournament they once had a chance to participate in. Mickey doesn't care, but Jim stares, his eyes full of regret. And Ron on TV is radiant, talking about his dream of getting a scholarship. Meanwhile, Jim and Mickey are struggling with their addiction. If Jim hadn't gotten into drugs, perhaps he would have been the one on TV giving thanks. But now, Jim is just a rotten soul, silently watching from afar the angelic mother who once loved and protected him. Seeing her struggle with the pressures of life, he can only stand by helplessly. Afterward, Jim secretly returns to the high-end apartment where Naran had once taken him, hoping to meet the girl from that day and ask for help. But she treats their past encounter as a joke, pretending not to know the strange beggar standing before her. Physically and mentally exhausted, Jim stumbles into a bar. A drug deal he was involved in went wrong. A buyer comes looking for his money back. Jim is beaten to a pulp. While unconscious, Jim dreams. He sees himself burying the spirited boy he once was on the basketball court. His inspiration for writing has also dried up. He lies curled up in the cold night, waiting for death. But the one who comes is his savior. The black young man he once played against takes Jim home. He reads Jim's entire story in the Basketball Diary. When he wakes up, Jim demands his diary back. After getting the notebook, Jim prepares to leave. The black young man just says, "It's nothing." "Why should I thank you?" "Because you almost froze to death in the snow." But what Jim cares about is what's in his pocket. The source of his joy is gone. Reg pulls out the item. The moment he sees it, Jim goes limp like a noodle, begging Reggie to give it back. Seeing no reaction, Jim resorts to threats. "I'll kill you." "Reg, give it back to me." "Hurry up, give it here." Jim's body is completely depleted. He's so thin he looks like a paper corpse. "Look at yourself. Take a good look." In the mirror is a gaunt, skeletal face he barely recognizes. Jim completely breaks down. "Reggie, it's okay." "Why are you doing this?" "Because someone once helped me. I just want to pass that kindness on to others." From that day on, Reg always stands guard outside the door. Reggie starts to help Jim detox. When withdrawal hits, he feels like he's being dragged to hell by demons. His skin becomes extremely sensitive, as if every breeze is a knife cutting his flesh. It feels like thousands of tiny worms are gnawing at his marrow. Not only is he in physical pain, but Jim is also in immense mental torment. He begs Reggie for a dose, but to save him from the abyss, Reg has to be firm and refuse. A few days later, Jim's condition improves significantly. Reg feels a bit more at ease and prepares to go back to work. He tells Jim to write in his diary if the cravings return. Then he leaves the room, locking the door. However, not long after Reg leaves, the addiction hits Jim again. He ransacks Reggie's cabinets looking for drugs. He turns the room into a mess. Finally, in a locked cabinet, he finds Reggie's stash. And just like that, Jim throws away his chance at a new life. He wanders the streets for who knows how long, until he meets the woman who once wandered looking for pleasure like him. Now she looks sober and radiant, clearly having escaped her dark past. Jim asks her for money, but only receives a contemptuous look. She scoops up a handful of loose change, throws it on the ground, and laughs at him. That woman didn't just throw away a few coins. She threw away Jim's self-respect. He turns back and angrily curses at her. But the words of an addict like him no longer have the power to hurt the woman who has pulled herself out of the mud. In the end, Jim still goes back to pick up the coins. For money, he still bows his head in compromise. Jim has betrayed the purity he once believed in. He chose to kill his own soul and become a true living corpse. The detestable face of the coach appears in his mind, as if mocking him. "This is all you'll ever be." That night, Jim and Mickey go to find a Spanish guy to buy drugs. But it turns out he's selling fakes. Sensing trouble, the guy immediately runs. The two chase him closely. They end up in a Spanish neighborhood. The man climbs to the rooftop. Mickey threatens him to give the money back. He just gives a slight push, and the dealer panics and falls from the building. The dealer falls from the 6th floor to his death. Knowing there's no way out, Mickey abandons Jim, turns, and runs downstairs to escape. But the crowd below won't let him go. Mickey is subdued on the spot. By the time the police arrive and take him away, Jim, on the roof, luckily escapes. With no other options, he goes to his mother's house. Looking through the peephole, she sees her collapsing son. Then, the mother chains the door before unlocking it, speaking to Jim from behind the door. Jim asks for $5, 20 would be even better. But of course, his mother won't give it to him. Jim starts to pull out all the stops. "Mom, you have to give me some money." "Can you hold my hand?" "I'll be good. Mom, please give me some money." "I'm begging you. Stop making a scene." "I can't give it to you. Please, Mom, give me the money." "How can you be like this? I'm your son." I don't have any money. Don't treat me like this. Please, Mom, give me some money. Mom! Rejected by his mother, Jim falls into despair. Inside, his mother calls the police to report an intruder while fumbling in her purse for money. Jim curses and insults his mother through the door crack. Hearing those harsh words, his mother's heart breaks. Jim, in the throes of agonizing addiction, both scolds and begs. Finally, she grits her teeth and lets the police take her son away. Jim is sentenced to 6 months in prison for multiple offenses. During that time, he once again endures the painful process of detox. Even though drugs are easier to get in prison, Jim is determined to start over, never to touch them again. The diary becomes his spiritual support. His inspiration for writing slowly returns. 6 months later, Jim is released from prison. As he's walking down the street, a familiar voice calls out to him. A haggard-looking Pedro greets him. Jim learns that Mickey could be in prison for 5 to 15 years. Pedro has even prepared some good stuff to celebrate Jim's release. But Jim is no longer the same person. I can't anymore. It's good stuff. You know it. I have things to do. Why don't you come with me and see? I can't. I have to go now. You understand. You know what I mean, right? Take care, kid. See you, Jim. Who knows what will happen the next time they meet. Jim turns and walks through an iron gate. There, he begins to tell his life story. We, the street kids, were out wandering from a very young age, around 13. We thought we could control everything, that we would never get addicted. But life rarely goes as you wish. I am living proof. In the end, you can only see it all as a matinee performance. A play shrouded in darkness. Jim's dark life finally sees the light of dawn. Reggie comes, invited, and is genuinely happy for him. Jim has escaped the mire and returned to a normal life. Only this time he is completely changed. The clear look in his eyes has returned, but now with an added toughness. The film ends here,